December 10th. I guess our first order of business will be to approve the December 10th, 2024 minutes. Do I have a, whatchamacallit? Do I have a second to approve or, whatchamacallit? A motion to approve. That's what it is. One, all right. Um, all right, so if no one has any issues, we will approve the minutes for December 10th, 2024. All right. And I guess Rebecca is here instead of Bob.
No, we still have not. I apologize for the video. I don't know why the video is not working, but um, yeah, we're using a common login, and Rebecca's name is associated with the login.
Okay.
So, yep.
I see, I see.
Um, yeah, so I'm here
All right.
instead of Rebecca.
Okay. Well, that's good to know. Um, do you have anything to report to us or anything else?
Sure. So on the 8th, which was 2 weeks ago,
Yeah.
Saturday, we had a pack issue. Um, it was offline for a couple hours while we all tried to figure out what was going on. Polaris has not yet determined why that happened,
Oh,
although it reoccurred last Saturday for a brief period of time. In both the cases, they were able to restart the pack service, and that resolved the problem. So we're kind of just watching that to see, what's going to happen in the future. Um, Deborah found some information, kind of Googling around. She found some information about like a denial of service on Polaris pack installations. So nothing specific about CCS installation, but just kind of a general thing. Um, Polaris, I don't know if Polaris is aware of that post on, but again, they haven't commented, they haven't said why the outage occurred. Since we last talked, we upgraded to 7.7, Polaris 7.7. The only major issue that we encountered was with Communico. That lasted for about a day. Patrons were having trouble placing holds and registering for events. Um, the resolution was on the Communico side. So um, in the past month or so, we've had a couple of SIP outages. Early in the morning, a library would notify us, 7:30, 8 o'clock, that SIP was down. Their self-checks couldn't connect. We notified Polaris, and they restarted that service. And throughout the remainder of the day, there was no problem. I wouldn't say that that's a reoccurring issue. Um, of course, we had some firewall maintenance, as probably maybe everybody did. I don't know who else needed to take action on this new whitelisting that Polaris is doing with their clients. And again, it's just the clients. It has nothing to do with Leap or any of the other services, such as Simply Reports or the pack. So as far as we know, the rollout occurred this morning again, and we haven't heard any problems from the libraries. So we believe it went smoothly this time. That's about it, unless anybody has any questions. I don't hear it.
yeah, I don't,
Anything I didn't cover?
uh,
Okay.
not really. No, it sounds like you covered everything that happened recently. Curious about the power pack thing. Hopefully they'll figure out what's been causing that.
Yeah. Um,
It's just one of those things that's unfortunate to happen over the weekend, right? Like time.
and that is, yeah, so if it could be a load thing, a load issue, right? Um, which again would kind of speak back to that denial of service. Um, but yeah, so that could be a clue as to the amount of traffic that they're getting on, on a particular day, which in this case is a Saturday.
We'll have to see what they find. So
Yeah, yeah,
I'm
we'll
sure you
keep you
guys
guys
will
posted.
let us know. Yeah. Cool. Well, thank you so much for that. Um, I'm gonna just kind of jump into some old business here briefly. Did we have anything else more about the power pack replacement at all, Bob?
Well, Gayatri is, of course, she's heading the evaluation process. I talked with her briefly this morning. She sent me a link. It's to our website, and it's a link to the page, evaluation, catalog evaluation project page, which has links to the demos. So the demos that we've seen so far have been recorded, and the links are posted there on that page. Um, in general, for anyone who's not aware, um, the evaluation has been divided into two parts. One is the front end, the patron facing piece, and then the other is the back end. So we've completed so far the front end demos, and we're now working with on the back end demos. We saw the Aspen back end yesterday. For those who are not aware, we've got Aspen, Bibliacore, and Vega that are being evaluated. So we're going to see Bibliacore's back end and Vega's back end this week, and I'm sure those will be recorded, and those demos will be recorded and the link posted on that same web page. I can send everybody the link to that web page after the meeting. Yeah, so the evaluation is very systematic. Rubrics were developed, and we evaluate each element in the rubric based on a scoring scale of 1 to 5. Does it do this? Can it do that? And then the rubrics will be tallied and presented. Then the results will be presented to the governing board, and that'll occur in May of this year. The governing board ultimately decides how how we move forward on that. They're all looking really well. They're all looking good. Very impressed with the Aspen back end. Gives the libraries a lot of control over what they can do. And it doesn't need to involve CCS staff to make that happen. So based on the permissions, the user permissions, we could designate, people in the libraries to edit configuration pieces, which is rather nice. So we'll see. Yeah, we'll see what happens with Bibliacore and Vega, and how their rubric adds up. But it's still ongoing. They say we're in phase 3. There's 3 phases. Phase 1 was like user testing. You had patrons, people testing the 3 interfaces to see if they could do this, that, or the other thing. They could look for this title, that title, how easy was it? And right now, again, we're in the demos, which is phase 3. Phase 4 is governing board decision. Phase 5 is negotiations and implementation. But it's very, very likely that we'll be moving from the current hack interface to something different, whether it's Vega from Polaris or one of the other two vendors. I think that's about it.
No, thank you so much for that. Appreciate it. That's a lot of good information. We'll look forward to the link for sure.
Yep.
Um, yeah, it's kind of exciting too, in a way. It'll be nice. Maybe we can make things a little, I mean, libraries will have a little more say in how some of the things look, which will be nice. So,
Yeah. And one of the really nice features of the packs that are out there today, like the difference between Vega and the current pack from Polaris is the roll up. So they take a title, and depending on the different formats of the title, whether it's a paperback or a hard copy, it's all rolled up into one area of the interface when they display the result set. So patrons aren't finding paperback down at the bottom of the page and the hard copy at the top of the page for the same title, which is rather nice. Same with some of the other formats. They roll those up into one element in the display.
Bob, Smriti here from WNPL. What will change for us managers if we move from PowerPack to some other system for us IT managers?
Could you repeat that?
What will change for us IT managers if we move from this system to another one?
But that's a good question that we need to hash out and make everyone aware of whatever you may need to do in your libraries. I suppose that there are software running on your pack machines that restrict control, right, to just that one interface. I don't know, but yeah, so we'll definitely work with all of you to see, what may have to happen, what may have to change. But you got to think of it this way too: that the patrons at home are going to have free access to the interface. So again, outside of any software that you're running on the machines that are trying to restrict control, I wouldn't think that there'd be anything else that you'd need to change. But we'll find out. We'll find out.
yeah, it's definitely something we do. We had some kids accessing some game sites not too long ago, actually. We had to restrict, but actually it just turned out to be a Windows thing. It wasn't really anything to do with the software we were using. So, but
Thank you, Bob. That's why you're not getting a lot of reactions from us, because as end users, we might use the website, but whatever happens technically for material services or circulation, we don't really interact with it on day-to-day basis. That's why you're not getting the excitement that other departments might probably have about
Sure.
this.
Sure. Yeah, no, I totally hear you on that. Yeah. It's really nice because the patrons, when they start seeing a new interface, they get excited. They begin to explore, they spend more time there, at your library's catalog than they would in the past because they're so comfortable with, what currently exists. So, yeah, it's like anything when, somebody gets new software, they kind of spend more time with it. So it'll be an exciting time for us and the patrons.
definitely. All right, cool. Does anyone have any other questions? Cool. Thanks, Bob. Appreciate
Yep.
all the information. Um, I'll just move on here briefly. I talked about Adobe Classic from Adobe Creative Cloud. I pursued this with CDWG. They actually had to get a license for me because we license our teams through them. And this will probably be different for people that are licensing Adobe directly from Adobe. However, I did get licensing. What's kind of nice about it is that it does show up in my actual portal about how many licenses I have. So even though they're not assigned to anybody particularly, because I'm just doing standalone installs for it, it does show that, the license and the expiration date and stuff like that in my main interface, which is nice, along with the rest of the cloud products we have for Teams. So I just wanted to mention that to everybody. So, and the pricing was very good. I mean, for the most part, I think it was like around like $140 for a license that was for 3 years. So it's 3 years from the day you purchase it. So um, just want to make you all aware of that. So that'll be something that will have to be, you guys will probably have to do if you have standalone ones for Adobe, because the Acrobat 2020 that was released back in 2020, I think is end of lifing sometime in June or July or something of this year, if I'm not mistaken. So that'll be something you guys might want to have to look into if that's a concern of yours, because there won't be any more software updates or security updates or anything else like that after that. I can't say it won't work because it's a standalone installation, but um, for the ones that I purchased from CDW, they are just standalone installations. You actually do have to create kind of an installer package for it, but it tells you specifically what it is. Like it says, standalone package without an Adobe sign-in. And so you kind of create that. It packages the license key in there, and then you guys have an installer basically to use for the number of licenses that you have, basically. So, um, but yeah, so
Michael, how many licenses do you have?
I only got four. If
Okay,
you
because we already have Creative Cloud, and
don't-
I've just used generic distribution list as email addresses so that I can give it to whomever. It's only for our marketing department. And with that cloud license, you can use it on two devices for one user at the same time.
Yeah, and that's the same for, yeah. We have six cloud licenses, but we have stuff for not only the marketing department, because there are one, two, three, yeah, three people that use it there in marketing. We've got our actual manual license that are what I want to call our admin, license. And then that I think we have for the IT department. We have one license that we use for the patron computers downstairs. And I'm forgetting the use for the last one off the top of my head, but that's what we have. So those are things on the separate computers there. So we've got something for the makerspace and the patrons facing side, as well as some of the staff there to use the what I want to call the second, like you said, installation for the same Adobe ID that you use there. And this way with the teams, I just assign it to the individual person. They have their own login for it, and I just see, that it's assigned to them based on their library email address. So it's worked out well. This was just a case of like the finance person, our finance assistant, she uses the Adobe Acrobat, but that's all she uses. She's not going to use Creative Cloud. And so for things like that, that's what I get the Adobe Classic for, or even our director too. He just uses it to make some documents and stuff like that. So it came out cheaper than buying a Creative Cloud license and paying a subscription to it. That's all. So.
So what I do is if I have people like these who have standalone products that they need, then I see if I can get some good deal at TechSoup, because sometimes you find it like really cheap for people who just want one or two products and not the whole Creative Cloud suite.
Right, exactly. And that's in this case, though, I didn't see TechSoup offering it. I should just mention that. So it was something that I had to get through the cloud distribution. But because I'm using CDWG for our Adobe Creative Cloud, they were able to add it to our basically our profile, so to speak, or our account. So that's why I think if you have Adobe or someone else, they should probably be able to do the same for you directly. Um, but that said, that's the only real difference. And like I said, I mean, like I think they had like a Photoshop Elements or something for like $30 at TechSoup, right? Super cheap, but you do need to have an ID or something created for it, etc. That said, this classic one I don't, but I know it's a license 3 years. I see the expiration date there, and I can see, the number that I had installed. So just mention it as an alternative. All right. All right. So I'll move on here a little bit. So I guess we are almost at the time for new officers to be elected, which will be at our next meeting in June. Smirty's been the vice chair here for this year, so she'll be taking over as chair. And then we'll need nominations for the vice chair and secretary, hopefully before then. So if you want to throw your hat in the ring, you can do so now, or you can email us afterwards and let us know. So then we can get that put in order, basically, or so we can put it to vote at our next meeting. All right. So we'll go and start, I guess, the new business here. And then this is more of a curiosity question. I think we had a couple people who are tech services managers here too, but I don't know if they're on the call today. Um, but basically, we were just wondering how your library handles printing labels for books, magazines, and physical media. And if your library is using the staff client to print labels or are using the print label functionality in Leap, because there are a lot of the technical services processes that are brought over to Leap. One of the things that we ran into, which came up, is printing labels for magazines, where the technical services staff had been using the staff client for a while, but we just got new computers recently. They were having trouble trying to get that aligned or whatever. And then when we contacted CCS, they're like, "Oh, did you try the one in Leap?" And the funny part is the one that we have to use. We have an old printer that they've been printing the book labels to with the staff client because I couldn't get it to work with our new copier. And then when I use the Leap one, well, all of a sudden they can print to the new copier. So I just bring that up as a question for people. Do you guys have did you run into any issues? Is this something just your tech services department handles and you just don't know? Or just any thoughts on the matter, if anyone has any?
I asked my tech services department. This was not the answer I anticipated. They said they print from Word.
That's great. That's great. Well, and I mean, the thing about that is like, well, then how do they generate it? Do they like put, stuff in there? I mean, the magazines probably don't make so much of a difference because they're just monthly or bi-monthly or something else like that, right? But like some of the like nonfiction or something else like that, it'd be kind of like curious to know, what the process ended up being. Just because in the past too, they've had issues where, obviously they only use print part of the label sheet and then will try and rerun the label sheet afterwards and then probably get something stuck in the printer eventually at some point because the glue, whatchamacallit, well, it's not meant for that. It's meant for kind of one through of an entire sheet and that's it. So it's been like sometimes I feel like that's an explanation, but it was more of a curiosity question for me because we ran into it and wondering if people are doing that. The same thing with like DVD media. They've got inserts for the CDs and DVDs and Blu-rays on the center, it's like a circle or whatever. And so I found out when I upgraded our computers that the software template for the new software doesn't have that anymore because they don't. And so I know other libraries get them pre-printed, and I've suggested that to our tech services department instead of like doing like a few at a time or something else like that. But um, I don't know if anyone else has been involved in this much technical services printing, but again, does anyone have anything to add, I guess, or can give us some information about how their department does things, their tech services department?
Are there any tech services managers in the call today?
Let me just say that if you don't have an open ticket, not that we have a solution, but in the long run, presenting it as a ticket and going to Polaris with it, if we can't solve it, those would be the next steps. I'm sorry to hear that you're having troubles with that.
Well, I was going to say in the end, it became no trouble in the sense of that tech services just needs to use the newest process you guys have, because that's was the response from CCS. They're like, whoever had answered the ticket there was like, when you try the label printing and leave? Oh, it works almost the same. Oh, we can print to the copier then. It's like, you know what I'm saying? It's like, it's trying to make sure that because as Polaris moves stuff over to features and Leap and stuff like that, that departments and people are adopting those things, right? We don't want to run into a situation later on at some point whenever they decide to retire the staff client. Who knows how long that is at this point, but that people aren't using the processes that are, being set up for us to use that way, right? And I guess that's maybe a larger thing for us as IT managers to think about is that, that these other departments, whether that they have their own processes, we also have to look at how things are being done in a sense of, well, are they using the latest thing and how can we get them to do it? Because we'll probably need to at some point because the problem that we ran into is that I got a brand new copier and the player side, when we had asked about it, well, there are no drivers for it or whatever else they don't have on their servers. So it's like, and they weren't about to add anything, so, which is fine because they have an alternative, right? And that's an alternative we should be using, but I just bring it up in this case like that. And I mean, I know the one tech services manager I was thinking of was from Prospect Heights, but she's not here. And I'm going to guess that we don't have anyone here. That's a tech
I
service.
just checked with ours and they use Microsoft Word also.
Hmm. Oh, wow.
They're very reluctant to move to Leap. They don't want two tools to do their job and have to keep switching before. So I hope we get a lot of notice when the staff client goes away because we're going to have a whole education for a department when that happens.
That's a very good point. Yes.
I think I can add that our department also uses Word. They also, for some of the labels, have I think it's a Dymo label printer. Mostly they use those for barcodes, but there's some other labels that they use that for as well. And they also have basically they have a series of template documents set up for different types of media, different collections. So that's mostly what they use.
That's exactly our setup too, Justin.
Yeah, and I was going to say in this case, I think it was the Dymo printer where they print the center labels for the DVDs and the other ones. And then what happened is Dymo in the latest template for the latest version of their label maker does not have it listed in there anymore. They had removed it. So they're like, well, you have to use the older software. Well, I'm like, well, a new printer, older software. Do I want to do that? So at this point, I've elected to just keep a Windows 10 machine there, have the software on it with a label thing. At some point, if I need to remove it from the internet, I will, but I'll cross that bridge when I get to it for at least for the interim for right now until they can figure out what they want to do otherwise. But I was just kind of curious. I brought it up here though as a just a matter of, I guess, a question that I ran into with our latest PC install.
Yeah, similarly, our Dymo printer it's not the most current one. I guess it was new enough that when I upgraded that computer to 11, it was still functional. But yeah, once that, once basically that sunsets, I guess we'll figure out what other technology is out there, what other devices are compatible, and what work with sort of the shape and template we want.
Yeah, no, totally. And I think in my case, we have like a demo 450 and there's like a 550 or something that they released back in 2020 or 2021, something like that, a lot more recently. And the other one is from like 2013, 2014, something like that. So they did release a new version of that. So just to be aware. Cool. Well, there's nothing else here. I think I'll move on to our next topic here. Just managing app stores and YouTube. I guess that's also run into an issue where we had our Google Play thing because with the new app update from Communico, for those of you that have it, we needed to do something different with our accounts or whatever, and then found out we didn't really have access to the Google Play account, that it was still under the previous digital services manager's name. And so to go through that process, we had to try and verify it with Google, et cetera, to get full access to change all that information and update it. But that said, do you guys, any of you manage those accounts? So for Google Play or that, or is it your communications department typically? I would guess would be my thing for that. And do any of you actually you have like a brand YouTube account? I guess is my last question because as far as I can tell, ours is a personal one. So I just thought I'd throw that out there for you guys.
Okay, I'll answer parts of this. IT doesn't manage it. Marketing department manages it. I will find out because we are also in the process where our marketing manager has changed, but they are still in the organization. So they're still available. But very soon we'll undergo this process where, there has to be some kind of separation and maybe a standard account or a user account. You're not there yet. And while somebody else pitches in, I will check whether it's our business account or personal. I'm guessing it's business, but I don't want to commit to it without checking.
That's fair. That's fair. I think in our case, the digital service managers created a YouTube account and was like, here. And so that's what it sounded like. And just to be clear, I put a link in there for everyone so you guys can kind of see, in our agenda, just because there's a difference in how you can manage users there, right? Like you can manage them as having like a principal or an admin type as you would for most things, and then having different logins for different things so that you could limit access. So like if you have youth uploading this part or something else like that. So that way, everything's not tied to like one password. And if someone changes the password, you're like, who changed the password or something else like that, or trying to have responsibilities like that put upon people. I just bring that up as a thing. I mean, I'm sure there are definitely some of us that might have these, but it was something I just recently ran into. So I kind of threw it on here.
I think for us, the communications programming department, they manage the YouTube channel, which I think it's a brand one, but I could be wrong about that. I'd have to check with them. As for the App Store, we used to have a sort of a Boopsy based app, but we got rid of that a few years ago, and since then we don't really have any apps up on the App Store or Google Play. The only real app we have associated on those stores with those is the one for MeScan, and I think they manage it directly. So that's where we are right now.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's also kind of the case with Communico. They manage the app, so to speak, but they like almost like it's published on our behalf or something else like that is what it is, right? So, but in this case, because Communico's changing the app, this is just a little bit different than a standard, whatchamacallit, just update, so to speak. And so our digital services manager is like, wait, well, we need this information to verify this. And it's like, oh, well. So anyway, but yeah, cool. That's some good information. Yep.
Our YouTube account is a brand account, and our PR department likes to manage everything through passwords through Dashlane. So they share them all across their area.
Oh,
And we don't have an app. We're hoping to have an app soon, but we don't right now.
So our app, or excuse me, our YouTube account is managed by our communications department. It's technically one of my service accounts is the owner of it, and then I've just assigned like our communications coordinator as a manager, and then we've got some other folks who can also interact with it. That way, everyone's logging in with their own accounts, but they still have access to add videos or like see stats as necessary. As far as our apps go, it's a bit of a sore subject because I'm particularly annoyed at Communico. I mean, I understand why Apple and Google put their regulations in place that they don't want a bunch of copycat apps on their app stores. But at the same time, I know for a fact, because I have other apps on my phone that can do this, like Communico could develop a singular app, and then reskin it and even change the icon once you log into the app, because I had to go through the whole verification process on Google not that long ago as well, which really aggravated me because Communico wouldn't even give me a, because there's a section in that verification that says like who's the developer of your account, because they know that not everyone who holds the developer account is an actual developer, and Communico wouldn't even play ball in terms of like giving me a phone number and an email address that they could answer and provide me a verification code so I could finish that verification. So basically, I'm pretending to be the developer, and I do not like that because the app is a black box to me. But yeah, so I hold the developer account for that, and I've assigned Communico as a whatever the roles that Apple or Google call it, where they can basically manage the app.
Oh, that's actually great information. Thank you. No, man, I guess our DMS manager might run into that lately here too when they get to the developer part of it. Because right now we're verifying the account. I just had to add something for Google site verification recently. But yeah, it's painful is all I can say. So
we went through the years ago, we went through the pain of creating the Apple and Google developer accounts at that point in time. And then Google recently made some sort of change where they wanted additional, for good reason, they wanted additional transparency on the App Store. But now on our app, it says that we are the developer. And I'm like, no, we're not. I don't know the code that goes into it. Like, I don't think anyone at Communico is going to do anything malicious, but that doesn't mean they couldn't do something erroneously. And effectively now, if the app runs amok in some fashion, we're effectively on the hook for it because Communico doesn't want their name on it at all. And that has me somewhat displeased because they're basically saying, nope, hands off. We're not here. We didn't do it, kind of thing. And I'm like, but you did. So if a patron says like this app is causing problems on my phone or something, some rogue developer at Communico decides they're going to put like a crypto miner in the app or something, people do stupid things, and I don't have oversight over the developers at Communico, so makes me a little bit unhappy about how that's all running. When they could just develop a single app that just says like that's tells something like my library, and then as soon as you log in with your library card number, it changes the icon and the skin to match whatever branding you want. Like then it's a singular app. They only have to update one app, because it's all just basically a container for their it's just a wrapper for a mobile web thing. So
yeah, I was gonna say that's the weird part about it, right? And you would think with the amount of money we're paying them that they should just be on the hook for that.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, crazy, crazy.
I mean, if they were developing like wholesale personalized apps for every client, it would be one thing, but they're not. Their app is just a wrapper for a mobile web interface, which is another thing that Apple and Google specifically said: don't make apps that are just wrappers for mobile web device, mobile websites, and that's all it is. So, like, thanks, Communico.
I feel like sometimes there's no winning there. I mean, at the very least, I guess we should be happy that the new app functions better than the old one. So, but that's all we can say. All right. Thank you all for that information. Does anyone else have anything else to add?
I have a very random question. So, if our power pack changes, maybe to Vega or Aspen, will we have a chance to go for some other app company instead of Communico?
I was gonna say that just depends on who you're using for your events. Um, some of that can be outsourced, but because Communico is kind of like an all-in-one encompassing package, whether it be the program slides you use, which like uses Google web browser and the application that's there and everything else. So basically, Communico kind of markets itself as a one-stop shop, as far as I'm aware. And so because they do it that way, there's not really any leeway to use many other tools. Does that sound right, Aaron?
I get it, but
Yeah.
last time we discussed about apps and events were not being reserved through the app. It was only book holds, right? I don't remember properly, but last time when we discussed the same thing, like, does anybody use any other app for other than Communico for book reservation? And we asked whether you can reserve events or log in for events. Communico couldn't do it yet.
I think they can in the new app that they're rolling out, if I'm not mistaken. So that's one of the things that you can do is just enroll into like programs and stuff easily through the app this time. It's linked that way. Um, I can verify and get back to you, but I believe that's the case. I know they have a beta version out, so if your communications department is that too, you can also just see if you can get access to download the beta version and try it out yourself. I think that's also probably the best method to do it as well. But yeah, that's one of the main things that they've added in there in the new version of the application, along with an easier way to access your barcode scanner. I think they let you add it to I know it's like the Apple Wallet, and I know Google has something else similar, like you can add it there now, so you're not necessarily opening the app to scan your card every time. That's one of the things that they added as a preference within that new application, so to speak. So, but I haven't had a chance to try it yet myself. So, but that's what I've heard from our communications department that just, I guess, started talking about it at our last leadership team meeting like a week or so ago. So,
I mean,
yeah.
functionally, you could go with whoever for your app. It just depends on what function you want in it. I mean, yeah, Communico is a one-stop shop for a lot of things. But if all you wanted was the ability to like log into your account and like put books on hold or search the catalog and things like that, I think some people are still using Boopsy. I know OCLC has some sort of app that they can use. When I was looking at other libraries and how their app developers were listed on the Google Play Store, I saw a number of those things. So it's just, yeah, I think if you wanted to interface with like program registration, then you're kind of locked in with Communico. But if you leave Communico, then you can go with whatever works with your new system.
Yeah, because the books and stuff like that obviously are through Polaris, so they'll interface with a bunch of other stuff. So,
Mm-hmm.
so it's mainly the programs and meetings if you're using Communico for that, where it becomes what I want to call proprietary. I'll put that in quotes. But
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. So I'm wrong. I checked my library app and you can see the events and you can register for the events in the app.
okay, cool. Yeah. I say, okay, cool. We'll just move on to the next thing, I think, kind of in the interest of time here. The SharePoint intranet and Teams. Do a lot of you already have this or are using SharePoint at your libraries? You guys can just raise your hand or something else like that. Yes, no?
We're in the
Okay.
process of switching over here at Glencoe.
Oh, okay, cool. We are kind of doing that. We're trying to design, I guess, a main site or whatever, a main page at least for people to reference some information. So we're currently doing that, and I had some like basic questions in here for anyone that has. I've talked to a couple other libraries, and depending on I guess your level of how you want to use SharePoint, right? Like it's like, do you want a SharePoint developer or consult with one? Did you design it in-house? Do you have someone like on staff that is familiar with it and does the design work? You know, stuff like that. Um, you just have main page, your pages have departments or whatever that they manage and stuff like that, because you can do that. You can have the managers manage their own quote unquote department page, so to speak. You can have like of a hub page that connects to everything and has the same layout. I'm throwing these things out there as some things that I've just been reading about lately. I'm not that familiar with it, but if anyone, I guess, has anything to speak about an implementation through their library if they've done that, or any like hurdles that you've run into at Glencoe as you've been going through the process of trying to kind of implement it. Be interested to know.
Yeah, we're at the very beginning, so I haven't run into too many kind of hurdles yet, but the plan so far at least, and I'm curious of the people kind of further along in the process, what their plans are. Kind of doing it on like a department by department basis. So starting off with one department, building a site for them or a page for them, seeing how that goes, and then kind of learn and repeat with each individual department instead of like move all the library and the SharePoint all at once is kind of our initial plan going into it. Beyond that, I'm also curious to hear what other people think.
Yeah, in my case, the communications and digital services are mainly working on the project in our library. I'm kind of more hands off, but I do come in here now for, I guess, as far as what I want to call user management, basically like access and stuff like that. So I'm trying to do some, well, first of all, get admin access so I can assign access to other people is basically my first order to try and do here at this point. But in our case, like I said, we're just trying to make a main page to have just news and information for people that they need, like in kind of one place at this point is what they're looking at. And we'll look at rolling stuff out to different departments afterwards. It just kind of made sense because we don't have an intranet at all right now. They had one, I guess, the previous website before they went to Library Market, and then nothing else was ever kind of created in our case. So they're like, well, can we do this at least to, now that we've implemented M365 for some of our staff and stuff like that, can we try and implement something for SharePoint? So we're trying to do that we're hoping to at least have a page or at least a preliminary thing to show off in April at our staff day here coming up. So people will at least have something to, I guess, go to or be able to get access to some of that information a little easier than like our shared drive or something.
Do you guys have a standard template already built, which either communication has given that you will roll out for different departments?
No, that's in the process of what they're doing. They're building out the template, or the communications manager is, as far as I can tell, for that. They have pre-made templates, and I believe they're using one of those, if I'm not mistaken, for that purpose. However, they're going to adapt it with the library logo and some other stuff of that nature. The one of the things that they're trying to do is seeing if they can put an event widget or something like that on the page, so that the events from Communico can interface with that. From what I read, you should be able to do that. So our communications manager is currently in the process of trying that out to see what that looks like. So this way they can have an easy way, because I don't know how everyone else handles it, but we had different kind of ways of handling paid events for people who are renting the rooms versus the events that the library is hosting or librarians are running, the different programs there. So but they had a different kind of calendar or something for the paid events or something else. So they have a process where at least in the widget they should be able to show both, I guess is the main point. So then when you look at it from like a welcome desk that we have, you can see all the events that are actually happening, like the public events that people can register for, as well as like a paid group that comes in to use the space, right? So if they're coming in to look for a room or something else like that, they're like, oh, I'm with this in this group. Oh, okay, I see you have this reserved. You can, go down to like our small meeting room or something else of that nature. So that's hopefully to facilitate that. I feel like a lot of you probably have something like this already, or have it already combined in a way that, works for you. But for whatever reason, for us, it had never actually been. So,
So I heard two reasons so far as to why you would want to do SharePoint. One was because of a all staff drive per se. It's easier to get to. Is that how I understood it, Michael? And then the other reason was some kind of event process widget that you can utilize. So I wanted to go back to what you were talking about as far as an all-staff drive. Would the goal then be to remove all your need for a local server in the house and have all your data stored into the cloud, via these different SharePoint sites?
I don't know about all of it. I think a lot of it can be, there might be some finalized documentation of something we keep as a reference on the shared drive, but the idea is to make it, our shared drive, less unwieldy, I guess is what it is, because people will have folders here, they'll be working on documents here for their department, but then they'll have like one of a personal drive or something that they're using stuff on, etc. So to try and get people, and one of the things that we're doing is trying to initially here is like train people of how to use, or what the uses are for SharePoint, what the uses are for your like your personal OneDrive, what you should be storing there, stuff like that. So we're trying to educate our staff on that method. And not that we're taking the shared drive away at the moment, but we want to get people to be thinking more about that stuff to make things a little more collaborative, especially when working on documents together between different staff members and stuff of that nature. To have that there and have it be a repository, whether it be in a department or, depending on what we're looking at. So there's a little bit of thought there in the process of, well, we want to transition. I don't know if we totally will, remove like the shared drive, correct, like totally, but I feel like some maybe like finished documents or something else like there, maybe we keep on the file server as a, what I want to call a backup, because as you know, sometimes some of those if something goes down on the Microsoft side, we won't have access to it at that point, and then we won't have anything. So we don't want to be in that situation either. But I also think that like working on documents and stuff like that makes sense in SharePoint and stuff like that. But maybe once you finish the document, we also keep a finalized copy, whether it be in a department folder on the shared or drive or something else like that. So,
Well, so the reason I ask um, is because if you are using SharePoint to store your documents, you have less need for a robust file server in your company, in your library. And so we have 4 servers basically in our site here. And so they're like every 2 years, we're buying a new server just to like a new one becomes the best, where we move stuff and then it trickles down the line. So every year I've been, upping the requirements of what we're going to use the server for. More space, faster, using VMs, things like that. So I'm struggling at now to figure out whether or not do I need to do that anymore, because SharePoint is becoming so reliable. And the OneDrive for clients, your users, is that size is almost decent enough for them to store their files there too. So that's where I'm at with this decision of SharePoint. So I personally use SharePoint a lot in the department, but we haven't rolled it out to any other area. I'm using it for Word templates that I use consistently. I can schedule things a lot easier. I'm trying to figure out, and this is just like an insight kind of thing. If anybody else is going down that road and thinking about that, I mean, certainly I would like to have a better server, because I don't know what AI is going to do for us in the next 2-3 years, right? Will we be able to run our own little language learning modules inside our library that make our jobs easier or make other staff members' jobs easier? And so then I might need a better server. So just throwing that out there.
So
So
John, I'm gonna answer your question. I've gotten rid of my NAS, although I'm I'm talking about SharePoint, but our Teams is completely set. So eventually it is already flowing into SharePoint. The only thing I don't have, the part of SharePoint, is that visual page. It's all folders. So I don't have NAS. So number of Veeam servers, virtual servers for me have gone down. It's working really well. Two things you need to consider. One, there is going to be a lot of training to teach the staff what's the difference between OneDrive and Teams. And you need to design it properly. The second problem that I'm facing, because people use it so much now, my internet traffic has gone up to the point that I have to do an ISP upgrade now. And I have Drop Suite for cloud backup for Office 365 or Microsoft 365.
Yeah.
So
Sorry, go
we
ahead.
don't, sorry, we don't use SharePoint because we're a Google house, but I am doing something similar where because of the number of Google Workspace licenses we have just an absurd amount of storage space in Google's cloud drive, and I'm like, I want to move as much stuff off our local file server as I possibly can, because my backup footprint is just a bit unwieldy, and uh, and I know you were I know one of you was talking about wanting to have stuff like still on a local file server, and I'm sort of the opinion, I'm like, I personally think, you know, we pay for Google, you guys pay for, you know, Office 365, and you have your stuff that like Microsoft, Google are going to have way better resources to maintain integrity of data than anything we have in house. And since most of our staff have moved to laptops, they could be working from anywhere. So just having access to that and not being reliant on a local file server is just much more convenient in terms of staff being able to access information. So yeah, I'm on the same page. I'm just trying to figure out how to get things moved up there efficiently and get people using it.
Yeah, I think with us, our ultimate goal would be to, move away from having an on-premises server. The main thing that, once we get that sorted, the main thing would be how many of the functions of the patron server could we then transfer to the cloud. There's still, several apps that, need to be run off a local server. But a few of them look like they're sort of going in a cloud direction. There's definitely some, software being developed that may be available in the next couple of years. Yeah, I guess it remains to be seen at how people take to using OneDrive. Yeah, we'll kind of go from there. But that would be kind of like having, less of a physical footprint on site would give us more flexibility, especially since in our case, we're looking at doing a major renovation in the next couple of years. And we are, part of that is, we're considering where, where in the building do we put our network equipment? So that's, yeah, also a consideration for us.
Yeah, I was gonna say in our case, we just got new computers, but I got just minis. I didn't get laptops mainly because for the most part, a lot of the library staff here works, in the library. I've got some other laptops. I'm experimenting with a staff laptop checkout this time around. So that'll be a little bit different with our new laptops here. So, because I just feel like there were some people that needed it for specific situations, but there was no reason for me to try and, I want to say, like maintain a fleet of things, right? Necessarily. And also the fact that you can remotely connect to things through a VPN. I was like, well, then as long as they're able to do that, we have a web VPN that we can use with our FortiGate as well as just a regular VPN client as well to RDP into things. And I'm probably going to look into some other software later, but it's work for what it is for people. But I think that whatchamacallit, for what our purposes were, it just kind of suited it at the time. And that I needed to, well, first of all, I need to redo the entire fleet because during COVID, the previous person had bought like 6 different models of laptops, and that was just not something for me to that I wanted to maintain. And so most of them are not going to be Windows 11 compatible. So I'm sunsetting the majority of them, I think maybe except for like eight of them or something. So that said, yeah, no, all of this, I guess all of us are going to be struggling with this as we move forward and see what kind of solution we come up with for some of this stuff. But there definitely is a need, especially I feel like now in this day, if you haven't yet, like it's like to make sure that we have an easy way to communicate with people, an easy thing for people to check. Mailing lists are nice and all, but also just having a website or something else. Like I can think of something, it's like, well, the library is closed, right? Yeah, I can check these other areas, I can get emails, I can get phone calls, but is there just a page I can go to aside from our main library website that's updated to say that we're closed, and some other information about staff, like when are we reopening and something, like maybe we can keep some information like that on there too, for some of that stuff that goes. So we can do that. So yeah. But yeah, no, that's I guess a good discussion here for everyone. I think we've learned at least a little bit. Does anyone have used Teams and have an all-staff team? I guess is my last kind of question here. Yes.
I do, and I've set it up 2 years ago, so ours is like really settled. If you guys need any help with design of teams, because that is going to be the most critical, feel free to contact me. I'm at a point where I can have a class on how to design the structure of teams, not the technical one, but the logical one. So feel free to reach out.
I will definitely be doing that then for sure. 'Cause I
So
know that's
just to
something.
give you a preview, we have an all-staff team. In that, I have the standard general channel, which now can be renamed, not possible before, where it has all the official information that comes from management team or admin, and staff cannot post anything over there. And we have one channel called Workspace, which is work-related communication only. And then we have one channel called Staff Lounge, which is a very informal channel, and you can post anything in it.
Yeah, and I think that's some of the layout. Like I think our director had seen something on Morton Grove and how they have something set up there too. So he was just like, oh, but look at this. I'm like, okay, but we're gonna have to figure out who's managing it or
Yeah.
like who's overseeing it, right? And stuff like that. Like I'm all about looking at the back end of the management portion of it because it's nice to have all these things in front and you want to use it, but you also need someone to kind of be like what I want to call enforcing the rules, right? Moderators, for that stuff. So that'll be a larger kind of discussion.
So
But
our management team is the owner of the all staff team. They are the only ones who can post. And then depending on the other channels, then I've changed the permissions on whichever channel it is, what
okay,
others can do or cannot do.
gotcha. Okay, cool. Well, I'll definitely be asking you for some information about that for sure. Because yeah, having those restrictions and stuff in place in the first place is the best is the best thing to do for sure. Okay, cool. And I guess the last thing I have on here is meeting AV that I guess you had a question about here, Smarty, that hopefully I asked those okay here on the
Yeah,
agenda.
thank you. So just to give a background, our meeting room AV was completely maintained by a facilities manager who was really good at AV stuff. And then when he retired, the meeting room AV kept working. So we didn't have to do anything other than help staff or patrons with their laptops connect to meeting room AV. But now our meeting room AV is old, and IT or facilities do not have like full proficiency over meeting room AV. So first question is, what kind of projector do you have? Like, do you have a laser projector, and who manages it in your library?
Well, so I'm the one who sort of provisioned a bunch of the projectors for our meeting spaces. I think they're like Epson projectors. I think they're DLP or LCD projectors. I don't know off the top of my head. they were bright enough for the space we were in, and had a big enough throw for the space we were in. Honestly, the technology that's used was unimportant to me, just as long as they met the throw requirements. When we at this point in time, we have a mashup of control interfaces for a lot of our meeting spaces. We did a big renovation about 7 or 8 years ago, where 3 of our spaces have one control system. Our branch just did a big renovation this last year, and their meeting room has a different system, and then our main large meeting room at our main library is something that I was able to cobble together for the most part. So I am going to try and have that one redone to match the one at our branch. The only thing I'll say is you're going to want some sort of AV installer to come in and quote whatever sort of control interface and management of it that you can get, because but get in writing that they will train you on how to manage it and how to modify it. Because during our big renovation, like 7 or 8 years ago, the AV installer installed these AMX control systems that are like they're like a knockoff Crestron system, and it's just a big black box, and it's working, but the minute it stops working, I can't fix it because I don't know how to log into it. I don't know how to control it. The one we got installed at our branch is similar, but it all just works through serial controls on the projector and the video switcher and the screen and whatnot. So while I don't necessarily know how to get in there and edit it, it's a significantly more basic system that that should be expandable as necessary. So yeah, that's that's all I've really got to add on that.
So who decides what goes into that AV closet?
I mean, so our big meeting room was sort of a carryover from a previous one that I've sort of maintained. Like I spec'd a video switcher because I needed something that wasn't just relying on the projector to do the switching and scaling. We had some issues with that years back. But realistically, if you contract with an AV installer, they'll make recommendations for what equipment should go in there. This is something that we should not try and not necessarily, unless you have someone who already has those skills. I would say this is not something that we should try and like oversee on our own, because to try and get a control surface in the room and control for the projector and control to switch video inputs and control for your screens if you have like motorized screens and whatnot, is just a lot to get all sort of working together in a way that makes it so a staff member can just walk in there, hit a button that says, I need to use a computer, and it lowers the screen and turns the projector on and switches to the right input, that sort of thing. But it seems like with every renovation, I learn more. And so I was very diligent when, during this last renovation or branch, that I was able to look at the quote from the AV installer, and I was able to look up the parts they were quoting. If anyone ever tries to give you just a bulk, like this is what it's going to cost, and we're going to install this equipment, like with just like a comma list kind of thing, have them line item that. Make sure you get model numbers. Make sure you get prices on each piece, because all too often AV installers will, I mean, welcome to end stage capitalism. They're going to have equipment in their warehouse that they can't move because it's not like top of the line anymore. They're just going to try and offload it to someone who doesn't know any better. But if you start asking for part numbers and specific like line item costs, they will very quickly, or should very quickly, be able to explain why they chose what they chose if anything looks out of place. And obviously, you can ask them like, "Hey, we're going to need a Blu-ray player in the AV rack, and we're going to need a microphone, like wireless microphones or wired microphones or whatever." And they should be able to accommodate that as well. They'll make
Okay.
recommendations.
Thank you. That was very helpful. Is anybody using Meeting Owl or Teams room in their meeting room, maybe?
No, no, we're not. And in fact, in our case, it's just so old at this point, we're gonna have to look at a replacement, but it's just not on our list of things yet. The audio equipment that we have there is very old in our auditorium, for example, that needs to be replaced. Um, I forget it's like a silencer or something else like that we had to do because we have like feedback from it that they had to install, the vendor that I used at Park Ridge actually. Um, so I had them come out and look at it and they're like, yeah, you're gonna have to do this and call us when you wanna replace it basically, and they'll quote me some stuff. So, but we also, like Aaron was saying, like as long as you have intentionality of what exactly you're trying to do or look for, you can ask them about the possibilities of that and stuff of that nature, or and you can see how much it will cost and obviously compare, etc. But in all those cases, it's more like to walk in with a plan, kind of what you envision it to be, and maybe the communications team, in the library has an idea of the kind of events that are being held or what they wish they always had, type of thing. Maybe you have, well, this is what we absolutely need, kind of have like a wish list of what we would like, type of thing to be able to do too. There's a lot of stuff that I feel is a lot more capable now from what I have kind of seen, basically, that they have available, and you probably have too. But again, it's, I guess a scale as well is like what can we afford, what do we need, and what can we, obviously get now that is new, that is easy. Because like Aaron was saying, having a push button or something like that for people to use computers or the DVD player or Blu-ray, whatever else like that for movies, and just have it be one stop instead of, oh, I have to adjust this, oh, I have to go adjust the sound here, or I have to do this, right? Like there are so many little minor things there. Same with microphones and stuff like that, right? For balances and stuff. So, um, but yeah. And I think in our case too, we had someone in facilities who was good into audio. So he got like this crazy audio thing with like every type of adjustment you could make, that like, if you look at it, it looks very intimidating because it takes up like an entire wall. And I'm like, what am I doing with this? Like, there's no, you know what I mean? It's not a good, uh, not a great solution to keep around forever. So, but yeah. Does anyone else have anything to add about that? Do you have anything else to add to it as well, Smarty?
I just wanted to add, also say hi, first meeting here, John from Vernon area. You mentioned the meeting owl. We use that in some small meeting scenarios, but looking as we have a renovation coming up in the next few years, probably in the same position you are, kind of inherited the AV system years ago, and so we're looking to be involved in, what's going to be in the build out and that. But right now we do at least have one meeting room with the projector and the control panel, and we can select inputs for, people can go in just for their programs and not have to deal with the main rack. They just push a button, and so far it works well. But yeah, having a vendor to help you with that is pretty key, I think, as well.
Yeah. And like I said, I cannot stress hard enough, get in writing that they will provide not just like end user training, like here's how you push a button on the wall, but like program training, like so that if you need to modify the system in some fashion, you at least have an idea of where to start, like how to log in and some basics. Because too often a lot of these AV companies will pull the stunt of locking you out of something you own, so that when you need to make even a basic change, you have to call them and pay them, which I find to be kind of scummy.
Yeah, so I have all of these problems, just that I don't have renovation. I have to do it in an existing room. I think the biggest problem is I'm not passionate enough for meeting room AV, because other than fixing the AV, I'm doing everything else around it. I got a 75-inch screen. I divided the room into two, put it somewhere else, a television. So it's all working solution. But the actual projector, I just don't want to touch. I want somebody else to take care.
Well, the good news is the projector is honestly a pretty dumb piece of depending on how your room is set up, a projector is a pretty dumb piece of technology. It's a commodity item. Um, any decent AV setup should not rely on the projector for anything more than putting light on a screen. Like it should take video input and put that on the screen. Um, it shouldn't be being used as the switcher between multiple inputs. It shouldn't be used for like routing audio into and out of the projector. That's asking for something to choke and fail. That's what we went through and why I had to get some different video switchers. It should just take an input from whatever the switcher system is that's managing all the rest of the AV and just have the projector. So like I could replace our projector with a TV or like an LCD wall or anything, as long as it has an HDMI input on it. Like I could just plug our switcher into that and get the same picture out. Yeah, like what the projector technology is shouldn't really be a big issue. Honestly,
it's the switcher in the, so we do also have an AV closet where all these switchers and the PA system is also connected to it. And then we are talking, do we want an digital video wall or do we still want to go with standard projector setup? So that's where I am. So now what I'm hearing is it's better to go to a consultant and ask them to give a quote. And then once you get a couple of quotes, you will start understanding what exactly do you want out of it and it fits in your budget.
mm-hmm.
But I really appreciate everything you've said, Erin, especially about the training, because eventually we don't want it to be one-time setup and every time we want to change, we go to somebody.
Yep.
All right. Anything else? Are we good? Okay. Does anyone else have any other issues they want to mention here real quick here at the end? Yes, no.
So I'm just going to put one nugget. I am supposed to replace all the about 50 to 100 computers, laptop, desktop mix next budget year. But we are trying to talk to our board into releasing some funds now because we are anticipating tariff increase next budget year. So then things will get more expensive, especially because we have a facilities improvement plan going on. And if they approve it, then we will pre-buy the computers this year. I mean, our budget year ends June end. So between now and then, whether we install it then or not, or swap it then or not, that's a different thing. But just I wanted to let you know that we are taking some proactive steps in lieu of tariff increases, which will come.
I'll just mention, because I think, well, in our case, I work directly with HP and their government side to supply our computers. And when I did that, I was able to get a quote for them, and that quote is good for like a few months. So that might be if you work directly with a vendor like that, if you're going to use Dell or someone else like that, that should be an option for you as well. So then you don't have to feel like you're paying for those PCs right off the bat or something like you were going to say, and then because of the tariffs or whatnot, but at the same time that you can have that locked in price for the equipment, right? So once you do that, then it's easy. And I'd have to look to see exactly how long mine was, but I believe it was like 3 or 4 months or something obnoxious like that, that it was a fair amount of time that I had the quote for that, or I could have sat on the quote before I basically approved my final thing with the specs and everything else. So, but yeah, so just throw that out there, idea out there to everyone, really, when you're trying to replace something or else like that. Like if you're working directly with a vendor or something else like that, they do have the government side of stuff like that. I did have to go through the process of creating a government account, et cetera, et cetera. However, in the grand scheme of things, I can at least order things easily this way, and then I don't have to worry about the sales tax, obviously, and stuff like that. And it just gave me another option besides CDWG. And I know Apple offers that too. I'm going to be signing up for them soon as well. And that's also a great thing to do as a library, to just have your own library account with Apple, and then you can get discounts. And I think those discounts actually can pass down to staff as well if you wanted to. So, but yeah, all of that stuff is, I think, always good to look at when you're looking to try and get the best price for something. So, all right. anything else?
So we're looking at possibly replacing one of our copiers or both of our. We have 2 copiers right now. The reason we're looking now is because our contract with our current provider is ending later on this year, and so now it's just kind of an interesting time. So we're looking at a couple of different providers that use different brands for hardware. We've got one, so our current ones are Konica Minolta's. One of the other providers we're looking at uses Ricoh machines. One of them uses Kyocera's, and then there's one I think uses HP hardware. So yeah, I was just curious what people's were using as far as their current copiers and what their experience with basically which hardware that you like about them, what do you dislike about them.
I'll speak to it briefly. We have Ricoh copiers. We're contracted with ISBS, have been for, I know the library's been with them for 20 years, something else like that. They do offer other models as far as I'm aware. However, we just chose to keep going because that was the model the library had always had. So we just got the latest model of, what's being there. Do have a service contract with them. I think it's for 3 years, I believe. And then, or actually, yeah, I think it is something like that. But then we have like a thing where it's an annual thing for the number of pages printed and stuff like that. So you can get that kind of ahead of yourself. Like our setup basically is we have the copiers. If I need ink, we contact them, they send the ink to us, whatever. And in my case, my copiers aren't networked, but if they are networked, you can put software on a server or something else that will detect the amount of the ink, paper, whatever else like that, or like supplies, basically supply status, and then they will just send you things as they become, as they need, versus me having to call them. But in my case, where we put their copiers, I don't have an Ethernet port or anything else like that, so we just have to keep like kind of a tally of where the ink level is, and then if it gets low or something, call them. They ship them out right away to us, and so that's all part of the contract that we have with them. So always just, yeah, stuff to look at, and looking at multiple vendors is definitely good, especially if your contract is expiring and you're looking for something else. But as far as the Ricoh copies themselves, we've been happy with them for the most part. However, the one thing I can't speak to is like scanning to email and stuff like that, because the ones that we have available for the public aren't really networked. But the other ones, whatchamacallit, that we use in the staff side have been fine. I haven't had any issues really. And I'll be perfectly honest, the one issue that we had in our youth workroom was staff error more than anything else. So we had to have them come out, and they came out within the next day, whatever, and fix the issue, and we were able to use it again. So I'll just put that all out there for you. So
We're also contracted with ISBS. Most of our high capacity machines are Savin branded, but again, Savin, Linear, Gestetner, and Ricoh are all the same company. So, but we've also been really happy with them. Sometimes like different models, like the current printers we have for the public to use have been problematic. Just like they have a weird, like it was just whatever the redesign of this model year was that had some issues. But ISPS has always been really good in terms of, if we just call them up, give them the ID number, and if they don't send someone out that day, they send them out the next day. We're really happy with that. The price per page seems reasonable, considering we charge for copying and printing about over what they're charging us, so it just sort of covers the cost of like the lease and for when we do have like free printing and whatnot. But it's in general, it seems like it's a very reasonable rate. As you're looking at copiers, but when we went with ISBS for most of our copiers and printers, because quite frankly, we did not want to copiers and big printers are just like every other piece of technology. The technology moves fast, and we did not want to get saddled with the cost of outright purchasing a copier only to have it basically outmoded in 5 years. So we're on like 5-year leases with them. But when we were doing that originally, we looked at a number of vendors that had a number of features to them. So realistically, look at what you want a system to do and make sure you have the opportunity to do hands-on testing. If they can send out a unit that like they can basically loan you for a month or something, so you can have like real world hands-on testing of the various functions, you can get feedback from your staff, even better. As far as Savin or Rico goes for their like scanning functions, the scanning functions are fine. I've never had an issue with the quality. The scan to email is not really suitable for the public use side of things, because if you're putting in, first of all, you have to have a mail server that it goes through, which is potentially problematic with personal information. And the copier has a tendency to remember the email addresses that have been scanned to, and there's not really a way to lock that. So it wouldn't take someone a lot of effort to go to the copier and like basically have the copier dump out a list of all of the emails that like the email addresses that the copier sent things to, and hey look, here's a mailing list of people who use the library, let's start sending them spam and phishing and whatnot. So but we have them set up to scan to USB, works fine. I have all the staff copiers programmed to scan to either a network folder or an email address for each staff member. And I've even got all of the copiers sort of networked together so that there's one master copier that holds like the master address book, and all I have to do is update on that and then have it push out updates to all the other staff copiers so that the same address book exists across them, and I'm not trying to manage like 4 different copiers worth of address books for when we get new staff members or people leave the library. Yeah.
It's very helpful. Thank you.
I'll just add, since we just got ours upgraded, I mean, ISPS is good about that too. They just basically take the stuff from your address book from the old one, move it to the new one. It's not really a huge thing. The only thing will be obviously making sure the IP addresses or whatever are set up on your network, whether you're using DHCP or static IP or whatever. But aside from that, yeah, like I said, we haven't had any complaints about them either. So
So I'm on
And
the same setup as Erin and Michael. So they have given amazing information. The only thing I'm gonna add is we were on a lease for like 4 to 5 years with the copiers, and we had it for staff as well as patrons. But in COVID, it didn't get used much, the copier itself, because not many people were in the building. So that copier, although it's older in life, it was still good quality. So now the last lease renewal, we have bought the copiers for really cheap, and then we just have a 3-year contract with them for the paper and maintenance, and after that we will say bye to those copiers. Like, that's how good those copiers have been, that even after the end of 5 years we are still keeping them for 3 more years.
Yeah, so at Park Ridge, we had ISBS 2. Staff then, well, admin went and changed to Gordon Flesh, which they basically said, oh, we're going to change out all the copiers, printers, fine. Gordon Flesh then signed the quote, I think, like January. We didn't hear from them pretty much until the summer. I had initiated conversations, and it was, oh yeah, we got like 15 out of the 17. We'll install it all in one day. That's not gonna happen here. So the onboarding was kind of rough. The tech support are kind of great, but they are great. They resolve issues. They're really communicative with everything. But just the whole onboarding process with Gordon Flesh really left a bad taste in my mouth. We do have the toner support with FM Audit, I believe it's called. It works. Sometimes I do have to call them up to get the toner. I'm not sure what the issue is with them, but yeah, for what it does, it works out fine. But I just watched the onboarding with Gordon Flesh. But we do have the Savins, Ricos, and yeah, not many issues with the hardware at all.
Thank you.
All right. Is there anything else to add here? Are we good? All right. I think with that, we can, I think, bring this meeting to an end, hopefully here. Could I get a motion to adjourn? Anyone?
All motion.
All right, thank you. Second?
I'll second.
All right, thanks, Matthew. All right, we will adjourn this meeting. Our next all CCS IT technical group will be Tuesday, June 17th. All right. Thank you all for attending today. A great discussion, very informative as always. And I'll see you guys at the next one. All right. Take care. Have a good day, everyone.